welcome back to my channel. I'm Kassiah. This is SiahSwag, and we have a new bag today. I did the cutout for this video a couple days ago, so you have a cutout, and now you have a tutorial. We are going to be making the Crescent Crossbody bag by Kandou Patterns. So cute. I absolutely love it. I kind of want to shrink it even more. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. But this bag comes in, this pattern has two size options on it. This is the smaller of the two. This is the regular size, and then there's a large size. What I love about this bag, it can be done with so many different materials. I used vinyl on this one, and I had no issues. No issues whatsoever. So you could definitely do a vinyl one. I was curious about it. So of course I attempted it, and I absolutely love how this one came out. My very first one is right here, and I didn't use any interfacing on this one. It's all wax canvas and water resistant canvas, and I love how this came out too. It's a little simpler, materials are lighter. Once you stuff it and fill it up, the shape will be great, but you know I love a structured bag. So if I were to do it again, I'd probably structure it like that. Again, this one, no interfacing on this one. Turned out great. Let's talk about the one that we do in the video though. Okay, so again, this is the regular out of the large. I used all vinyl, and it's Mora, is that how you say it? Mora faux leather from My Handmade Space, vinyl from Tulip Bee, and some bonded nylon from Zipper Valley. And then all the hardware is from me. I interfaced my exterior front and back panels with fleece. You can use self-adhesive fleece, you can use heat, fusible fleece, whatever makes you happy. And then for my gusset and these top connectors, I did some Decaville light out of my seam allowances. Absolutely love the end result of that interfacing. Okay, so you have a slip pocket here. I kind of hacked it a little bit. I did zipper overlay pockets instead of just zipper facing and pocket right into the material. So I did the zipper overlays. And then on the inside, you just have another, I need to lay it down nicer. You just have another zipper pocket there on the inside. Again, I did a zipper overlay. You could put a slip pocket. You could add more pockets. So that's what I changed. I also did a bigger seam allowance down this middle zipper here. My first one was a little wavy. The zipper was a little wavy. And I wasn't loving it. I don't love a wavy zipper. And I think that's because it just needed a bigger seam allowance. So I did change that as well. But other than that, we follow the pattern. It's so cute. You guys will love, love, love this bag. When I was in Vegas this last time on vacation, I saw a Louis Vuitton shaped just like this. I'm just saying. And I thought, that's a cute shaped bag. And then my friend Rose showed me this pattern, and I'm like, yep, I'm going to do it. So anyways, love it. I hope this tutorial helps you guys. I will link everything that I used below in the description so you guys can find it. Let me know if you have any comments or questions. I will try to answer them as best I can. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's get started on this gorgeous bag. Okay, let's go over our pieces here for this cute Crescent Crossbody bag. Again, I'm doing the regular size, not the large, and I will go over how I interfaced it. I'm interfacing this one with a little bit more structure to see which one I prefer. Since I didn't do any interfacing on my first one, I'm sure I've already talked about it. Here we go. Okay, so we have I'm going to go over our exterior. I have my gusset piece here. I did do Decaville light out of my seam allowances on that. I think it's going to make for a good bag. I have my zipper pieces here. This is my zipper panel or zipper strip pieces. There's two of those. It's one piece in the pattern and you cut it down the middle. I made mine slightly wider, like by 1/8 of an inch, not a ton on each of them, because I'm going to do a bigger seam allowance on my main zipper. My first bag, the zipper was a little bit wavy. And so I think to eliminate some of that waviness, I need to do a closer seam allowance to the zipper. So I'm going to do a 3/8 instead of a 1/4 on that zipper. And then I have my 2 zipper tabs. I'm just doing the exterior. I'm not doing lining zipper tabs because you cannot see them at all. And it just cuts down on the thickness of your zipper panel. My outer strap connectors, I have 2 of those. And I did do Decaville Light out of my seam allowances on those. On all of her pattern pieces, if you cut them out on the dotted line, that's your interfacing piece. So it does come with both. I have my inner strap connector too with 2 vinyl. I did not interface those. I don't think both sides need it. So we'll see. I have my D-ring connectors. I have 2 of those. I have my middle line drawn and taped down the middle. I usually put Decaville Light down the middle. I think I'm going to do that. I forgot. So I'll take a little strip of Decaville Light and just put it down the middle of these connector pieces. My other outside exterior pieces, this is the exterior slip pocket outside piece. I think it's front main panel. I did fleece out of my seam allowances. I think that's going to make a nice shaped bag. This is the back of that piece. You have to make sure, so you fold the pattern piece at this line and cut just this part, and it needs to mirror this front exterior piece, okay? If it doesn't mirror that, you cut it wrong. You have to lay the pattern piece right side down and cut out your back part to your slip pocket. All right, and then here's the other part to that. Okay, so that goes behind right here. And again, I did do a cutout video on this. So if you're like, I don't get it, you can go watch that cutout video. I explain a lot more in that. So this is the piece that goes behind here. Since I'm using a bonded nylon material, I did put some fleece right here, and there is a pattern piece for this interfacing, just to make sure my pocket isn't floppy. My back main panel piece right here, I did fleece. On the pattern piece, she has you cut out where your zipper pocket is going. I didn't do that because I'm going to do a zipper overlay instead. So I can just leave the fleece because I have to cut it out anyway. So I'm not worried about that part. My lining pieces, I am doing a exterior zipper pocket and an interior zipper pocket. So I'm doing zipper overlays for both of those. I have 2 of those. I have 4 total lining pocket pieces. I've got my 2 zippers prepped and ready to go for those. And then my inside lining pieces, I have my gusset right here, 1 gusset piece, and then my 2 lining pieces. Side note, I did explain this in the cutout video as well, but I'd like to explain it here too. So this pattern piece, for the lining, you cut it out at the full size pattern piece, okay? So you need 2 of those full size. For the exterior, you have to cut, there's a cut line on the pattern piece, and you're cutting it slightly smaller for the exterior. So you can see that my exterior is slightly smaller than my lining pieces, okay? So pay attention to that. Again, I explain it in the cutout video, but just be aware that these 2 are different sizes. For my hardware, I have zippers and zipper pulls. I'm just doing 1 zipper pull on that top zipper. I did 2 for my first bag. I don't feel like 2 is necessary for this bag. So I'm just gonna do the 1 pull. I have some webbing for a crossbody strap. And I'm just going to put little tabs on the end of my webbing. I'll show you. We're going to put together the crossbody strap at the beginning. I will show you how I do that. So I have my crossbody strap hardware. I have 2 1.5-inch swivel hooks, 1 slide. I'm doing D-rings, so I have two 1.5 inch D-rings for that. And then I have my nameplate. So that is everything we need for this bag. Let's get to it. We're gonna start with some prep work. I'm gonna get my crossbody strap out of the way. So I cut it at about 52 inches. That's kind of my sweet spot. Anywhere from 50 to 60, depending on who's wearing it, what you're using it for. I like to cut little end tabs when I am just doing a very basic strap. I need to just melt my edges here. So these are cut 1.5 by 1. All right, and this is just enough to cover my raw edges on my webbing. So I put tape on both ends of this little tab, and I'm just going to sandwich it on one end of my strap, maybe. My fingers will work for me today. There we go. So I'm just going to take it and evenly sandwich it on, just like that. And then I'll put it through my strap here. Just like that, through my slider. And then I'm gonna do 2 rows of stitching along that tab. I do it along the top edge and the bottom edge. Again, this is just my quick, easy crossbody strap method that I like to do. Okay, along the top, and then I'm going to do another stitch along the bottom. Beautiful. Burn some threads here. Make sure I don't have any crazies hanging out. Okay. And then I'm going to take my swivel clip, slide it on. Okay, and then we're going to go up and over. Okay, so now I've got one hook on down here, up and over my slider, and then I'll put the other little tab on the other end of the strap, and then put it through the other hook and sew it on. All done. Very easy, but it still looks nice and clean, which is kind of what we're going for, right? Okay, just like that. Crossbody straps don't have to be complicated to look good. That's it. And it looks really nice and clean and finished. All right, so I'm going to just mount my threads on that and put it to the side. And we're going to prep just a couple other things real quick before we start on the bag. I'm going to do my D-ring connectors and just prep those real quick. So I did put some interfacing down the center so it has a little extra stability. Tape on the edges, fold those into the center line, and we will just top stitch down and then put them on our hardware. If you wanted to use different size hardware, you could. You don't have to do 1.5 inch. I just did this the wrong way. That's okay. You don't have to do 1.5 inch. You could do 1 inch hardware if that's what you had on hand. Just use what you have on hand. Sizing of hardware a lot of the time is just recommended, and you can always use kind of what you want. Okay, and then I'm just going to take this, sandwich it. And I think for some reason you sew this at a bigger seam allowance and trim it down. Yeah, you sew it at a 1/2 inch and then trim it down to 1/4. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's what she has in the pattern, okay? So I'm doing it at a 1/2. And you trim it. Not quite sure the purpose on that one, but that's okay. I'm just gonna do what I'm told. So we have our connectors prepped, crossbody strap prepped. We're going to prep our zipper real quick. We have our cut of zipper depends on which size you're doing. Okay, so pay attention to that. And then I'm just doing top zipper tabs here, okay? And I cut my tabs to the width of the zipper. In the pattern, she has them wider. And you can trim them down. So that part's totally up to you, however you want to do your tabs. And again, I'm just doing exterior tabs. I'm not doing lining tabs because you can't see it. All right, here we go. This seam allowance is actually bigger as well, so pay attention to that. And then you just flip it out and top stitch. One thing I didn't do on my last one, I didn't trim this part down. I'm going to on this one. I'm going to trim under here just down a tiny bit. It's going to help with my bulk on everything and stay out of my seam allowances. Okay. All right, let's do this side. All right, last thing I'm gonna do is just mark my center. This is striped zipper tape. I don't want to put any snips into it This is the kind that tends to fray and unravel. So I'm just going to do little center markings with a pen here within my seam allowance. Okay, just like that. All right, let's go to our back main panel and put in our zipper pocket. Okay, so I have my back main panel here. I'm doing mine just a little bit different than she has in the pattern because I want to do a zipper overlay like this. So I'm doing about 3/4 inch down because I don't want this to run into my seam up here. She has you do it way close with your zipper facing, but since this is an overlay, we're doing it slightly different. So I'm going to take my overlay, center it, and place it right on that line, and we are going to sew around the outside edge of the overlay. All right, I just go like that. Lay it along that line. Get it looking nice and even. Right there. I'm using the silver marking pen. Whenever you use a silver marking pen on vinyl, you need to be sure that you wipe it off pretty quickly. It's great, but it will linger if you don't wipe it off, okay? All right, so I'm going to sew around the outside edge. And I will be pulling my threads through and tying them since I have contrasting thread. I also, my tension's just a little off, I think. I also want to make sure I'm cleaning my needle pretty often because I'm sewing through some self-adhesive fleece. So we don't want our needle getting sticky. My tension is not happy. I may have to stop and do some practice stitching after this. Something's off. Pulling that thread through. Okay, and you really want to just try and end right where you started. Right there. And then I will pull this thread here and it'll pop the other one to the back. Okay, I'm going to pause real quick and see if I can get my tension to look a little better, and we will continue. Okay, I went ahead and tied those threads off in the back, and now we just need to cut out what's in the opening right here. So we're going to take our scissors and cut this out. Okay, so once we have that, I want to now fit in my zipper. I like it to let open from left to right, so I'm going to put it on that way. I'm just going to place the bottom edge in first, and then I will fit the top edge in. I like to kind of just fold it get it centered in there. Maybe. Find my center. About right there. And I'm going to take the top part off of the tape and fit this on there. Try and get it as evenly centered as you can. It's kind of finicky sometimes, so don't be afraid to resituate. Okay. All right, beautiful. Okay. I'm going to flip this over and we're going to take one of our lining pieces. I have tape along the right side edge here, and I'm going to place it along the bottom edge of our zipper, right side down. Okay. So when you flip it over, you should see the right side of your lining and it's up over your main panel. All right, so my thread got pulled there. I am now going to stitch along this bottom edge of our zipper opening and end here. I'm going to not back stitch. I'm going to do the whole tie through my threads thing and try and get a nice even stitch. Okay, I'm going to pull through those threads and tie them off, and then we'll do the other side. I like to put a piece of tape right underneath here, so when I fold the lining down, it holds and stays in place. I will have to trim quite a bit of this pocket off. I wasn't sure how long to make it for this zipper overlay, so I'll trim it down just a little bit when we're done. All right, so now we want to put this on the top edge here, right side down. So the right sides of our zipper pocket should be facing each other. Okay. We're going to flip that back over, and now we're going to finish out our rectangle there around our zipper. Okay, so that's what it looks like when it's all done. I'm happy with it. I'm going to tie these threads off and then we'll close up the pocket. Okay, so I'm going to start over here, come down and around. Pull your main panel out of the way. Awesome. Trim down any of this that you want to. I'm going to trim it down right here. Okay, there is our exterior pocket overlay. Let's go to the next step. Okay, so before we move on, we have to put our zipper strip onto this back piece. So I've marked my centers here. You're going to lay it right sides together and you're going to match our centers first and then our ends, and then we work the rest of it in there. If we have to do some snips, we can. I don't know if I will have to, just because of the material I'm using has a bit of a give to it, but if you're using like more stiff material, you may have to put some clips into it. We shall see. Let's check this out. So like that, and then you fit the rest of this into here. Yeah, I'm going to do a couple of snips along my curve here. Really small ones because our seam allowance is only 1/4. So if you do snip it, they have to be like 1/8 inch snips. So mine are very tiny, just like that. And then hopefully this fits a little bit better into there. Yeah. Okay, so it should fit kind of like that. All right, let's go to this side here. Okay, we're going to sew along that. I'm going to go pretty slow. 1/4 inch all the way across. I'm kind of holding up the piece with my hand here It helps if you're holding it with that curve and not just laying it flat. Okay, beautiful. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a snip with my pinking shears here. Not a crazy, just the very edges here. Okay, and then you want to lay it up and we're going to top stitch. And it's going to look a little bit wavy and weird when you top stitch. And that's okay, because when the bag is all done, this is laying like this and it'll smooth out, okay? So this is where you just have to trust the process. Okay, and that's what it looks like when it's done, which is correct, because this is all going to be pulled into the center like this. So it's not going to be laying flat like that. So that's correct. We're going to put that aside and go to the next step. The next thing in the pattern is the other zipper pocket on your lining panel. So I'm doing the same exact type of zipper pocket on my lining. I'm just going to go ahead and sew this up. I'm not going to explain this part because we've done it once before. And then we'll continue to the next step. Okay, so the only difference between this pocket and the outside one that I'm doing is we're leaving this one open along the bottom for turning. So that will be the one thing that's different. So I'm going to trim this pocket down just a little bit here. If you want it to be exact, you can take it to your cutting table and cut it exact, but that's good enough for me. And then I'm just going to fold this bottom edge up. And then I will sew the sides closed. Okay, so now I'm just going to sew along the sides. I'm going to pull the lining out of my way and sew it with lining side up. And here we go. Okay, and you can trim down this seam allowance a little bit. You probably don't want all of that. Okay, beautiful. All right, next up, we are going to work on the main front panel, which is our slip pocket here. So you should have 3 pieces for that, okay? So first we are going to sew these two that are mirrored together along this curve. So you're going to line them up right here. Remember, you needed to cut this mirrored. And we're going to sew just along this little curve. All right, and then we will use our pinking shears and trim that curve down a little bit. Pay attention to what your seam allowance is in the pattern. Okay, it changes throughout the pattern, so just pay close attention to that. And here we go. Okay, I'm just going to take this and trim right along here. Okay, and then I'm going to turn it to the back and get this seam nice and pressed out here, and we're going to top stitch. Okay, she has you do a double row of top stitch, which I will do just right along there. All right, here we go. I need to check my bobbin real quick. I hear it clinking around in there. Ooh, I was just about out. Good call. Good call. Here we go. Now let's top stitch. Fresh bobbin. Okay, I'm going to do a second row right next to it. Okay, so now I want to take this back piece here and we're going to lay it down so the right sides of these linings are together along this straight edge here. And we are going to connect these two slip pockets right here. Okay, right here. We want to sew that together. So I'll flip it up like this. And once that's connected, we can go ahead and baste this pocket to the rest of our panel. So now we can baste along here and baste down there. And that just connects all of our pieces and creates our slip pocket. It's pretty cool, right? Very cute. Oh, you know what? Before I do this bottom one, I need to put my nameplate on. I forgot on my last bag. I don't want to forget on this bag. So I'm going to go ahead and put my nameplate on here. I've got my centers marked already. So let's just, I'm not sure where I want it. Maybe about right there. Whoops. We'll do 2 inches down. I think that looks good. 2 inches down from the top. Okay. Yep. Okay, here we go. Hi, Loki. You scared me. Oakley, stay out of the bathroom. All right. Now I'll baste this bottom piece down. And then we'll add that top trim piece here like we did on our last one. Cute. All right, so here's our top trim piece, our zipper. What does she call it? Zipper strip. Zipper strip. Okay, same process as the other panel. I'm just going to trim this even real quick. Here we go. Our next step is to attach this top zipper to our main pieces. So we're gonna grab our zipper, and remember I marked the centers already. And then we're gonna grab the main panel without the zipper pocket on it. You could put a slip pocket if you wanted a slip pocket on the other side. You could totally do that. Make sure you mark your centers on these pieces. It will be super, super helpful throughout the assembly of the bag. Okay. Top and bottom center. All right, so the only thing I'm doing differently is I'm using a zipper foot because my seam allowance, I'm gonna try and get a closer seam allowance than what she suggests in the pattern because I had a wavy zipper. And I think if I were to increase that seam allowance to a 3/8, it may help eliminate the wavy zipper. So we'll see. I'm not quite sure, but in theory, that's what makes sense to me. So we're going to clip this on, center out. Your zipper tabs will probably be longer than they need to be, and we'll be trimming them down. You could probably tape this part on as well. I wouldn't see why not. Okay, because I just have the one zipper pull, I want to make sure I'm putting this zipper on my front main panel with the zipper closing to the left, okay? Pay attention to that part. I'm gonna go ahead and baste this on first. I'm gonna do a little bit bigger than an 1/8 of an inch base since I will be doing a 3/8 inch final stitch. Come on. And when you have a zipper foot on already, it's hard to do just a basting stitch. So I am doing about 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so that's what I've got so far. Now I want to sandwich this lining right sides together. So sandwich right sides together, zipper in the middle. And I'm going to do that bigger seam allowance now. I'm going to do a 3/8. We'll see how that works. Better, worse, or just the same. I don't know. I forgot. I have to kind of fit this in here. So again, you may need to do some snips. I think I can get it in there though. It'll be a tight fit. So do center and then top sides and then fit the rest in there. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go nice and slow. Okay, so after you're done there, if you wanted to, you could trim some of this. It might help a little bit with how it lays. We're just going to do little trims here. Don't trim your zipper tape, just your materials. Can't really do that one as much, and that's okay. I could do little snips in it though, so it's just the vinyl that I'm snipping into. I don't know if it'll make a difference, but let's try it just in case. All right. We want to top stitch it now. So to top stitch, we don't want our lining under it. We're going to be pulling the seam allowance towards the main panel. Okay, so the seam allowance is going down and our lining is coming up this way, and we are going to top stitch. And just go nice and slow. Get it situated on there as you go. Make sure your seam allowance is going down towards the main panel and not up. Okay, so there's the first side. That's what it should look like, because when the bag's all done, remember this is all going in like that. That looks good. Okay, so now we're going to repeat for this other side. Same steps. Also, I'm just going to trim down my zipper tabs real quick. Okay, here we go. I think I'm going to use tape this time. Let's see how the tape does. Why not? Why the heck not? And then we only have to sew it once. Okay, other side of the zipper, right side down centered, and go from there. Now I know that this needs to meet the edge of here though, so I can go here first and then fit it all in. Maybe. There we go. Okay. I'm just gonna sandwich the other piece on top and use clips and then just sew it all at once. Right side down. You shouldn't see any right sides of anything right now. Okay, I'm going to sew that at my full seam allowance. Move my zipper pull out of the way to start. Here we go. going to do a little trimming again, just with this lining. All right. So we're going to top stitch same way. Our lining and everything is laying out from underneath it. And we want to top stitch with our seam allowance going down. Beautiful. So you should have both your lining and exterior pieces attached. Okay. So here's my inside. Cute. I think that closer seam allowance is going to help with our wavy zipper. I can already see it looking better. All right. We are going to move on to the next step. Okay, so first we're going to attach our gusset to our lining pieces. So you want to flip up your exterior. We don't want those. We're just working with our lining right now. If you're like me and used a little bit thicker material, you may want to do a double turn hole. So you may want to leave a nice wide opening in your gusset as well as your pocket, which I will be doing. So make sure your centers are all matched and marked. I don't have my centers marked on my gusset here. Okay. Beautiful. All right, so right sides together. We're going to start down here at the center. I like to do it this way though. Okay, and I'm going to clip it all the way on. You may have to do some little notches in your gusset to get it in the curves, and that's fine. I like to do the bottom center piece first. Let me move this camera out just a second. Okay, so bottom center first, and then I'm going to bring the top edge of the gusset up to the top edge of my lining piece here and make sure that lines up and bring it down. You almost always assemble gussets this way. You match your centers first and then your top edges, and then you work the rest in. If you go from center all the way up, it's not going to line up correctly. A lot of people do that and get frustrated and don't understand what is going on. Okay, so I definitely need to put some clips into this into the gusset. They can be like 1/4 of an inch clips because our seam allowance is a 1/2 inch. So it is a big seam allowance. So I'm doing probably 1/4 inch clips in there, or snips, or whatever you want to call them. And then it kind of lays out nicer, and I can get it all fitted evenly. Okay. Just like that, okay? And then we're gonna go over here on this side, do the same thing. Up to the top here. Trim this thread down. Okay. There. And come down. Again, do some snips in here. Okay, so now I'm going to sew this gusset up. Make sure your pocket's not getting caught in there. And your seam allowance is pretty good for this. It's pretty big. I mean, it's a scant 1/2 inch, she says. So be aware of that. You always want your lining sewn at a little bit bigger seam allowance if it's kind of the same size, because then it will fit snug in your exterior and it won't be all loosey-goosey. All right, change my foot back. Let's go ahead and sew this up. I'll leave my opening on the other side of the gusset, okay? So make sure nothing else is underneath as we're sewing. And let's go. Okay, and then you want to trim down that seam allowance, okay? You don't need such a big seam allowance, so we're going to just trim this down here, and then we're going to attach the other side of our lining, and I'll leave a nice big hole in the bottom of it for turning. I just have a feeling because I'm using, you know, Decaville Light on my gusset and fleece that I might struggle pulling it through the pocket. All right. Let's attach the other side here. Where is my other side? Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. It's right here. I'm all looking for another piece. Whew, okay. I'm good. Don't worry about me. All right. I'm like, where did it go? Yikes. Okay. All right, do my little clips here into the gusset. Okay, so we got the second side all clipped on. We're going to sew that up, again, leaving a hole. I like to come off at a 90-degree angle, and I'll show you that. When I leave a hole in the bottom of a lining. Let's do it. Hi, Oakley. Hi, baby. Love how she just barges in my room. What, sweetie? Hi. I know, Mama's working. She needs a WALK. And she keeps coming in here to remind me of that. All right, I'm going to stop right here and come off at a 90-degree angle. That's just going to help give it some support when we're pulling the bag through there, that it won't rip. All right, and it's easier to kind of close it all up when we're done as well. So I want to leave a hole from here, probably to about here. So we'll come on about right here. Nice big hole, since we can close it up through the pocket. Beautiful. We are just going to trim where we sewed. We're not going to trim down the opening because we need that to be just like it is to close it up. So I'm just going to start from here and trim up. I don't trim the very top of my seam allowance because I want to be able to lay that flat. And then this side as well. Okay, so we have the gusset put on the lining. Let's go to the next step. Okay, next step is we kind of need to flatten out this piece, side piece right here. So I already did it here. We just top stitched it or basted it flat. So I'm going to show you with the other side here. All right, she has the seams going in, but I'm just pulling my seams out because my thickness isn't crazy and I don't really have, I'm not going to have any issues with it. So I'm just pulling it flat like this and basting it. This is pretty much just helping with the assembly of the other piece that we have to put on there. If you want to trim down like that, you could do that too, probably. Oh yeah. All right. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything perfect. You're just kind of tacking these pieces all together. Okay, so I'm going to baste that down. Beautiful. Okay, and then we want to take the inner strap connector, and you want it right side down, and there's a curved edge to it. You want that here, centered. Mine, I have to get it to fit. Mine might be a little bit off because I used that bigger seam allowance on my zipper, so we're gonna see. But it is a curved piece. I think we can get it to fit. Yeah. Okay, I don't know about this one though. Just do the best you can. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and sew that on, and then do we flip it up and top stitch? Yes, we flip it up and top stitch, okay? This part, it took me a second when I was reading the directions to kind of understand what was going on. But once you do it, you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so then we want to flip that up, and then we're just going to top stitch right there, okay? And this will really make sense once we put our gusset onto everything, because this lines up when we put this top piece on the gusset. Kind of cool how she did this. I like it. I like it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing over here on this side, okay? Okay, flip up and top stitch. Okay, so when you're done, you should have these pieces connected to your main body like this. It looks a little funky, but that's correct. All right, so we are going to take these two other pieces here and our gusset and our connectors. So if you're doing that little D-ring attachment, I'm not. There's a little D-ring attachment. You would baste it on right here, right now, but I'm not doing that. So all I'm doing is taking the outer connector here and lining that up. And I'm going to sew along that. And then I will flip it up and top stitch. If you wanted to get rid of some bulk, you could trim that down right there. Okay. Flip it up and top stitch. Just throwing my scissors everywhere. Okay. So we're going to repeat for this other side here. All right, last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to find the center up top here, and then we are going to baste on our little D-ring or strap connectors, or big D-rings, I guess you should say. I'm going to try and find the center. That looks pretty good, and I'm going to baste that on. Okay, same thing for the other side. Okay, that is our gusset, and now we are going to attach this to our main body pieces. So it doesn't matter which side you start with. I'll start with the front. Okay, your gusset is going to be right side. Make sure you have your centers marked. You're going to line up your center first, and we're going to repeat pretty much what we did with the lining gusset pieces now. Except we don't need to leave a hole. And our seam allowance is a little bit different. It's smaller, okay? Other than that, same. Okay, so mark or line up the center first, and then I'm going to come up here and actually line up this seam where our connectors are, because I really want to make sure that those two line up nicely because they're laying right next to each other. Okay. Just like that. And then we're going to come on down. I don't think I'm going to have to snip. I think we're good. Because I have kind of more stretchy material, so we're good. We don't need to put any. But if yours aren't as stretchy as mine, you'll have to do some snips in there, just like we did with our lining gusset to get it to fit, okay? All right, I have that all clipped on. Let's go ahead and sew that up. All right, because the materials I'm using, I've got vinyl and more faux leather, I'm going to do a second row stitching just so it gives my first row a little bit more support when I turn it out. Okay, so right next to that first row, I'm going to do a little second row to the right. I've been struggling to see this, and I just realized I don't have my glasses on. Oh, much better. Okay. All right, so that's what I mean by a second row. It's just right next to the first row. It's just going to give it some extra support. Okay, I'm going to trim this down. I don't know if my pinking shears will be able to handle all the layers by the pocket. Let's see. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. So that's our first go round. It looks really nice. I'm very happy with it. We're going to go ahead and attach the second side over here to the other side of the gusset. Okay, one last thing that we need to do is close up this top right here. So we're just sewing straight across there. I'm going to trim this down before I forget. I'm going to trim this down with my pinking shears. We'll sew across the top 2 edges, and we'll have to trim that just a tiny bit as well. And then we'll turn this bag right side out. Okay, just right up across this edge here. I'm gonna do a double row of stitching. Just so, because that's like the main connector of the bag, so you really don't want that pulling out. And then you can trim this seam up a little bit here because you're going to be turning this out. So you don't want all this extra here. Don't go too close, but get that bulk out. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on this side here. Don't trim the top edge because that's your connector piece and you want to leave that in there. Okay. Let's turn it. I don't know if I need to hit it with some heat. I think I'll be okay. All right, so I'm going to get a chopstick and go up in there and here and kind of get that all pressed out really well, but it's really cute. I think it turned out great. I love the closer seam allowance on the zipper panel up here. Really did help get rid of the waviness of that zipper. And oh my gosh, it turned out really cute. I kind of love it. Okay, so I'm going to get these corners pushed out really good. You could even do a rivet or even top stitch if your machine will allow it. You could top stitch this right here if you wanted just a little bit extra. Yeah, for sure. And then we just need to close up the holes. So cute. Hey, I like the way everything's looking I am going to close up my holes. So what I want to do is close up my lining first. So I open my zipper pocket here. I'm going to pull the lining of my zipper pocket up, and then I'm going to pull my lining through that zipper pocket, okay? And that's how we do a double hole, because it's nice not to have to have that weird seam in your lining, and you can hide it in your zipper pocket. So that's the idea of the double turn hole, which is probably my favorite way to do a birthed bag anymore. I almost always do that. All right, we just got to get this all to fit real quick. Okay, I'm going to close that up, and then we'll close up our zipper pocket. Got a hair stuck in there. There we go. All right. Okay, and now you can trim down this little area. Push that back in. And now you just close this pocket. Okay, push that back in. And we're done. Cute. Okay, we're all done. Here she is. I love the way this one turned out. I love the structure of this one. I think I prefer this compared to a non-structure. I mean, this is cute too, and it was a lot quicker because I didn't have to interface it, but I just love a structured bag, you guys. Okay, so, and I just want to show you how this bag hangs. Like, I love the shape of it, especially when it's on me. It's so comfortable. I feel like it would be very convenient for an everyday bag. So, and this, again, this is the regular. There's a larger version of this out there that I haven't done. So there are other videos for it. I think Jess from Okla Roots did one like a year ago. I don't know if there's more than that. So you can go check out different ones as well. But I really, really like this design. Let me know if you guys have any comments or questions. I will try and link everything that I used in this video down below in the description. And please like and subscribe. I say that all the time. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps me out. I'd appreciate it. And thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.